In today's interconnected world, talent is everywhere. But opportunities are not always evenly distributed. This session explores the global skill gap where demand is high, supply is limited, and how education industry and innovation can bridge this gap. We are joined by a distinguished panel of leaders who bring global perspectives to this challenge. For this session, we are privileged to have with us an esteemed panel of leaders. Dr. Ajaya Kumar, COO, Emercom, Prashasti Rastogi, Senior Director, Education and Government, Coursera, Saurabh Garg, Co-founder and Chief Business Officer, NoBroker.com, Siddharth Verma, Founder and Executive Director, Brainstem Limited, and Sunil Dehia, Executive Vice President, Vatwani Foundation. And to moderate this session, we have with us Dr. Arun Surendran, Principal and Strategic Director, Trinity College of Engineering. I invite all the dignitaries onto the dais, and I'm handing over the session to Dr. Arun and the panel. Please join me in welcoming all the dignitaries onto the dais.
A very good afternoon. I hope everybody had a sumptuous lunch. This is the first session. We are always waiting for Honorable Minister Kelu sir to come. So in case he arrives, we'll have this as interval session. So this is the first half or otherwise of the session. Okay, I'm very, very happy to have here 4 distinguished experts in the area of skilling. They have already been introduced. So I'll start from Sid, because he has come, I think, the farthest to attend the skilling program. So Brainstem is your business. And I'm assuming, since you have done research on me as well, you must have done quite a bit of research on Kerala as well. So what do you see as the unique advantages of Kerala in terms of skilling?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And yes, I have come all the way from Melbourne. So in terms of, if there's a prize for who's traveled the longest to come here, maybe on the panel, I win that prize. So I've been in Australia for 25 years now. And when you stay away from India for that long, you start to get a different perspective of what is happening in India. When you leave the country, you still have a lot of India in your heart. You still miss home. I still miss home. But after a few years, you start to look at what is happening in the local economy, which is in Australia, and what's happening in the Indian economy. And I think the last 10 years, if you see the way India has accelerated on the global scale, is remarkable. And if you narrow down even further to what's happening in Kerala, the ministers were talking earlier when they did the opening address about the knowledge economy. And it's no surprise when our Consul General was talking about, when you look at the healthcare workers in Melbourne, most of them come from this part of the world. So I think a state with 100% literacy and all those sort of numbers talk proudly about the achievements of Kerala as a state and the people. But I think the challenge that lies ahead, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, is with the way the industry is moving so quickly, how does the state continue to keep that advantage, not only within India, but on a global scale?
Sunilji, you're familiar through Vatwani Foundation's work, and you have connected with colleges as well as skilling agencies in skill. So what do you see as Kerala's unique advantage?
Sure. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Actually, if we look at it from, of course, we work across the states in India and working on the skill space where we are providing jobs. Let's say students are getting into jobs. And the other space is creating jobs. And why I touched upon both these sides, because Kerala is very important from this perspective. So if I break this into 2 parts, when we look at it in terms of student fulfilling the job and the industry 4.0 unfolding, Kerala and maybe I can include the southern part of India as well, however, very specific to Kerala. One of the key aspects which we are seeing is from the industry side, AI is changing many job roles. So industry adaptation of that, Kerala is it's one of the front runners in this part from the industry side. Now come to the talent side in state. So we work with the state in, whether it is ASAP or KDISC or and even some great private, some examples in the state. So one aspect which comes out is the language, which is a strength here in terms of English and picking that up very fast. Then the whole hunger to start something in terms of startup, in terms of working on an idea and taking it forward, that piece we are seeing great traction in the state. So from that perspective, one aspect, industry who is driving both the forces, because even the ideas in the startup world is that, and as well as the people who are going to join them. So we see that there's a good movement in terms of adapting those changes and moving fast. As it said, industry is changing now almost every 6 months. In fact, even earlier, which we thought the traditional industries which will not get impacted are getting impacted. But it is giving birth to new job roles. And then if a talent adopts this faster, and that's the key in any state, and I think Kerala is one of the front runner in that space. Thank you.
Ajay sir, as somebody who is based out of Middle East, you're quite familiar with the Kerala diaspora and how things are changing. And I think as a frequent visitor, you have also been seeing the changes in Kerala. So what are the unique advantages? You're meeting many nationalities, people from other states as well.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, having spent nearly 3 decades in the Middle East, I never missed my hometown, because I keep coming here and I have very strong roots. I have strong contacts still. I maintain my relationship with my hometown and also various activities that we conduct. And how Kerala can build the advantage in the global scenario. We always have a tendency to compare ourselves with the global standards. Instead, I would say that how can we be world leaders in education, innovation, and also skill. Yeah, we need to set standards, and we are not very far from there, because we have a very strong schooling system. Though the CBSE and there are a lot local state-run institutions are there, we do have a very strong schooling system in our country across. Even rich or poor, they can afford basic education system, which is based on knowledge-based. Whereas in the West, my children have been, they have gone to CBSE and they have also gone to the UK syllabus. So I've compared both. And one is mostly practical based, the other one is mostly the knowledge based. So we are fine there. The only problem I see is there is not one single regulatory in our country. It's CBSE and the state boards. I prefer having one regulatory controlling the education system, at least the basic education system in the country. And number two is that when we go to universities, that problem, the complexity multiplies, because there are deemed universities, there are statewide universities, and I'm not forgetting the fact that we have NIITs and NIT. So take the example of chartered accountants, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. They are the world leaders. The chartered accountants educated and coming from India are the sought after accountants, finance managers, CFOs all over the world. If Chartered Accountants Institute can create this kind of a set, why not? Even IITs are there. I'm not forgetting that fact also. IITs, NITs. So if we want to have that, we can be the trendsetters in the industry. And I work for an IT company, which is a system integrator. We have around 1,500 employees, out of which 80 to 90% are engineers. And 60% of them come from India. The only problem that we face is whenever we recruit fresh graduates, they are not updated or they are not upskilling themselves. The traditional engineering course is not not enough for them to secure a job. I think that is something which we need to prioritize. And that is not with the government even. This can be done by the corporates, this can be done by even local bodies, and there are a lot of CSR funds available. Even at individual levels, people should skill themselves to compete with the world outside.
Thank you. Saurabh, probably your relationship with Kerala started after meeting me, which was 30 years ago. We shared the same hostel back in IIT Bombay. And then, of course, your previous businesses also, you had forays into Kerala, so you're not somebody unfamiliar. And I think no broker also, most of the customers might be Malayalis in Bangalore when you started off. So you're quite familiar with the situation. So how do you see Kerala's unique advantages in this skill?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I think like Arun said that I keep visiting Kerala often. It's always a great experience whenever I'm here. So look, I think what Ajay and Sid mentioned, I think one biggest thing which I see is that you go anywhere in the world, you'll find people from Kerala are in that place. So that made me think about, okay, what is it that is unique about people from Kerala that they're present across the world? And I really think, of course, one is the language education, but more than that, I think it's the adaptability. So I think the biggest thing which you find in Malayalis is that they can adapt themselves. In my previous business also, we had a lot of people who were from Kerala. Even right now, the person who heads our AI efforts, he's from Kerala. He didn't start as an AI guy. He started as a data science guy. But over a period of time, he kept on learning, kept on adapting himself, and now he's probably one of the best AI guys in the country. So I think I see that adaptability, that ability to learn, keep on improving themselves. I think that's the biggest asset which Malayalis have, and which gives them a unique advantage anywhere in the world.
Do you see that quality or characteristics, is it increasing as we go by, or are we becoming less adaptable with the generation after generation?
I'm not that old, so I don't know that, but I think it is improving, because I clearly see that the technology is something which people really find difficult to adapt to as you become older. But I'm seeing that even that people are adapting themselves to. I mean, I'm sure if you just check in this room itself, everybody's using a ChatGPT or a Perplexity. So I think people are adapting to things very, very fast, and that is something which is increasing with time.
The reason I brought that up is because the previous panel that I was moderating, HRH was there. They have started a center in Palakkad, 200-seater, and they quickly filled it with 60% women. So there is a trend of reverse migration also, and people preferring to work near home because they can work for any companies. So that skill is also a necessary skill that's coming.
Of course. I think a lot of our workforce now, for example, works from home. We have around 4,000 people in our company. 30% of that people work from home and managing the entire thing from home. They don't need to come to office.
Sid, I'll come back to you with a very unique question. Brainstem, we had a recent report that said 60% of students in southern India take up STEM, whereas 60 to 70% in northern India, they prefer commerce and art and other subjects. Globally, if you see, I think as we get into a more and more tech world, it'll be important for everybody to have a solid STEM basis, right? So would you consider STEM to be a basic skill that even if you're in accountancy, you should have basic STEM background to come and start working in the modern world?
So, I mean, I could talk all day about this, like we don't have all day. But when so Brainstem, for the audience, it's a not-for-profit organization that I've been running for 10 years, and it runs mentoring programs for high school students, where we take students who are in 9th standard, 10th standard, and we match them with scientists in universities, and they go through a 12-week mentoring program. So we present to them the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the World Economic Forum skills, they go to the university labs, they learn about STEM. But we don't enforce that they have to learn how to do a experiment in the chemistry lab. It's more about understanding, problem solving, critical thinking. The other thing also, which is interesting from an Australian or global point of view, is that there's a lot of single-sex schools. There's all-boys school, all-girls school. When you go and talk to the all-girls schools, everyone is studying everything. So there is no gender difference between boys do more STEM or girls do more STEM. Everyone does STEM. When you go to a co-educational school, the numbers start to represent what you're seeing in many parts of the world. So the gender equity or gender equality, two very different thing, conversations, are there in every part of the world. To go back to your question about whether STEM is an important skill to have, I think, I run a workshop with my school students and we ask them, can you name one job that does not require STEM skills? And they'll say, newspaper delivery boy. I'm like, okay, newspaper delivery boy, if you're on a bicycle and you're throwing newspapers, that requires STEM skills, angle of throw, speed. If you are a janitor, you're cleaning the floors, chemicals, water, composition of that. So STEM is not just about becoming an engineer or a doctor. It's there in every single job that you're doing. And if you go and look at most successful people in companies around the world, they might not have done a STEM degree. If you look at CEOs of tech companies, not all of them are engineers, but they're running big tech companies. So it's a basic skill to have. Everybody has it. I mean, and whether you do chemistry or maths in school, maths everyone should do in school, right? That's important. But besides that, it's pretty open. It's pretty open, but it is an important skill to have.
Sunilji, when you visit colleges, do you find the great adaptability? Are colleges ready to adapt to the changes in the skilling world and so on? Or do you find that inertia among the faculty that...
Yeah, so let me, okay. See, when it comes to the education and the higher education, as you specifically picked up on the higher education side, see, one aspect which is opening up for higher education, or I should say higher education should catch up with, is industry is going to change and roles are going to go and roles are going to come. Now, in general, when we say AI, the answer starts with ChatGPT, maybe goes slightly higher. But take an example. There's BTech Computer Science. Now time has come when there are certain universities talking about BTech Computer Science, AI in retail, BTech Computer Science, AI in healthcare. So now if that is the forward-looking direction, where honestly, even the answer of, because if this is going to affect any industry, mining, fishing, it could be any of the industry, from that perspective, if you look at the student which is getting prepared, they need to adapt themselves to this. So I think one of the key aspects which I see for the students in higher education is to now get into creative thinking and adaptability. And I think Sir said about adaptability. And creative thinking is one big requirement, irrespective you are in what stream. Because I think, take a simple thing, ask any of our college student, can you write a prompt of 18 pages? And they'll say, 18 pages? What are you talking? So prompt engineering is the next way forward. But in any of the domain, so it could be retail, it could be healthcare, it could be, beauty, wellness, doesn't matter. So that's the way I see it. And the students currently are at a stage where they started off using ChatGPT for some other things, projects, this, that, all that stuff is happening. But slowly it will change to what can AI do to fishing industry. Now suddenly then creative juices fly. And then students will start, rallying with that. Thank you.
I think more hackathons, ideathons, that would be the way to go to actually discover areas in which you work. Ajay, if you look at the traditional Kerala education system, something that existed, let's say, 100 years ago, you can see that everybody was taught a little bit of Ayurveda for health at the school level. Everybody was taught music. Everybody was taught poetry. Everybody, because there was no television, could learn astronomy, and then that transferred into astrology. So you could see that skills that were given towards leading a very healthy, fulfilling life rather than going for a job. And art was a very important part of it. And somebody with an art curation background like yours, when you see AI come in so strongly, how do you perceive the next 5-10 years in terms of arts and artists and the skills that they should acquire?
No matter how much our AI advances, I'm pretty sure that we humans are much more creative. You know, so art is one such area. I believe that AI can never ever compete and beat. Because if you take example of Kathakali, I don't think even any AI machine today can conceive or come up with a better mudra or with a better play. So especially the classical arts is something which no technology can beat ever. And as you rightly mentioned, before we had the slow-paced. Why do we watch classical art? Because it takes 3 hours, 5 hours. Even a Kathakali performance takes 12 hours, to watch. So where do we have time? That's one thing. But what it taught us that the life at a slow pace also needs to be appreciated and enjoyed. So we used to enjoy Kathakali for 12 hours. Today it has come up to a level of 3 or 4 hours. But still it's 3 to 4 hours. It's not that bad compared to other art forms. So art is one area. And just answering what Mr. Sid said, your question and his answer, I don't believe that a particular skill set, you need to have knowledge, the basic knowledge of everything. Then you need to figure out what you like the most, what you like to do the most. That's what is going to be your career. And once you appreciate, once you start enjoying it, you don't feel like you are working, right? And if you take my example, I was working, like my profession is finance, and I was working for a FMCG company, and I happened to, by chance, I happened to go to an IT company. And today I'm a CEO without knowing anything about IT. I really don't know anything about IT. I don't even know the technological terms, but still I managed to. So if it's all about, it's not about skill, because there are people who are skilled to do the skilled jobs. After certain age, it's the human touch, the empathy, the human values. These are the things I think take someone to higher levels.
Saurabh, same thing. When we were doing our BTech, the word startup had just begun to percolate. This was 1990s, 1996, 97. And the word skill wasn't there in the vocabulary till the last 10 years ago. But I think we have done fairly okay in life without being highly skilled in a technically skilled fashion. But as Ajayji was saying, what are those fundamental characteristics or skills that every student, every youngster must ensure that they have for success in today's world?
Yeah. So I think I'll speak more from startup and entrepreneurship perspective. I think there are some things which are very important. First, I think it's about solving a problem, breaking the problem into fundamentals and then solving that problem. Look, because if you look at the young people today, they are digitally native, right? So they are actually much smarter than what we were when we were that age. I mean, just to give you an example, my son, who is 4 years old, took my phone, did a Google Lens and ordered something on Amazon. 4-year-old kid, just imagine. So I think those guys, it comes very naturally to them. But what doesn't come naturally is problem solving, understanding customer problem, and building for that. Writing a code is easy, but it is not the solution. It is the problem which is more important, and then you have to find a solution for that. I mean, when I was starting NoBroker 11 years back, at that time there was another company called Housing which raised $100 million, and they built a beautiful product. The UI was amazing, and the product was really out of the world. but they were not solving any problem. The problem was that India pays 1,80,000 crores in brokerage. Nobody was solving that. So I think that solution is not important. So focus on the customer, focus on the problem. That is one. Second, I think communication is very important. You know, when you're building something, when you're creating something, you have to sell it to your customers, you have to sell it to your investors. So presenting it in the right way, I think that's a very important skill. And typically, people from engineering background suffer from it. You know, so we typically figure out that we're not great communicators. We struggle in that. So I think that's a skill which has to be developed. Thirdly, I would say resilience, at least in the startup world, because a lot of people come to me and say, you are India's first PropTech unicorn, it has been easy for you, but it's never been easy. We have seen almost many times when we were very close to just getting shut, right? So I think that resilience, I always say that you have to be irrationally optimist as a startup guy. You have to make sure that you believe in your idea, you keep working on it, sometimes to the extent of being irrational. So I think that is again something which I think is important. And lastly, I think in this world of quick commerce and Instagram reels, our attention span has come down. Everything we want quickly. We want the result to come quickly. So I think that ability to focus, spend time without any distractions on a problem, maybe it takes 4 hours, maybe it takes 8 hours. Just work on that. I think that is something which is very underrated, but I think it's extremely important to have something like that. Uninterrupted, focusing, deep work, solving something.
Last month I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Somnath, the previous chairman of ISRO. So I had asked him how he became such an excellent communicator, because for the first time we had a chairman who could explain the mission to people, even to school kids, and then, you know, enjoy the success as well. So he said he looked at it as a skill, and he wasn't very good at it in school or college. Again, typical engineer. But then he realized there are 3 ways to talk to your superiors, to your peers, and those who work for you. 3 different types of communication and so on. So I'll take that and come to you, Sid. One of the great things which I think ChatGPT and all the other AI is bringing is the art of questioning. So if you look in Indian traditional system again, prashna was always important. The student could raise the prashna and the guru was supposed to give the answer, not the current system of teacher will ask the question. So asking the right questions, how do you think we can get better with that skill, and how important is that in the modern world?
Were you reading my mind? Because when you were talking, I was thinking about something that I talk to. When I talk to startups, I mentor and coach startup founders, and most startup founders make the mistake of asking themselves easy questions because they like to give right answers to themselves and feel happy about it. And then, as a coach, I come in and ask the hard questions, which they don't have answers to. And then they have to go and find the answers. And the magic in this is that most people underestimate the power of a question and overestimate the value of an answer. It should be the other way around. You should deeply appreciate the power of a question, and if the question is good enough, the answer is fine. Right. To go back to the idea of the art of questions, or how do you ask better questions, I think it's go back to what Zora was saying, that you have to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and not knowing. You know, the biggest example, and I know Melbourne was the most locked down city in the world when COVID was there. Out of 365 days, we had 275 days of lockdown, right? The world had completely changed. And when the world around you is changing so quickly, you're looking for answers and you don't know how to get them. And it taught us resilience. It taught us how to find our way through it. It taught us to think differently. We had to draw these 5-kilometer circles to find means and ways to meet our friends. You know, we were finding answers to problems that were just normal for a long time. And many people became better at finding answers to the tricky challenges. You know, that's the best example of critical thinking and problem solving, where the whole gave it in front of us. So I think getting uncomfortable with discomfort gives you the opportunity to get imperfect answers. And one thing for everyone in this room is, if you want to learn a new skill, whatever it might be, you want to paint or you want to dance or you want to sing or whatever, and you start doing it for the first time and you are really, really, really bad at it, that's a very good thing, because you're stepping out of your comfort. If you don't suck at it, you're not doing a good enough job. You should be terrible at it in the beginning. It's like when you learn how to ride a bike, you fell down 100 times and then you ride the bike, but you were terrible at it at the beginning. So pick something that you want to do, be ready to be horrible at it, and then soon you will get better at it. And then find the next thing to be horrible at it, and then get better.
Keep yourself always at the bottom of the ladder of some learning curve.
Be humble, be humble.
Saurabh, I remember the backlash when you guys were first setting up in Bangalore, and then they never had a board advertising their company because they didn't want brokers to find out where no broker was. Suruji, will we have a world with noteacher.com? You can be very careful and diplomatic.
I know. See, when we look at the learning cycle of a child, or let's say age of 18 to 25, or even post-job, the trend which is moving towards is personalization. Right? So everything is getting personalized. Now, is it possible that I say in my class to my teacher, I want to answer everything in voice. I don't want you to test me in written answers. Another child says, I'll prepare in video and give you, and I can talk in front of people, but don't ask me to fill up multiple choice questions. So individualized learning is the way forward. From in terms of where is technology heading, is that aspect which is getting prominent every day. So if we can recognize the learning pattern of an individual, then for him or her, learning your own way makes a hell lot of difference, because people learn in different ways. But we still are in a system where, assuming there's a class and there's a role of a learner and there's a role of a trainer. No doubt, I think we still have time when, trainer can truly become a global facilitator. So the moment you look at a teacher standpoint, mapping to these 5 or 10 different ways of learners is the future from their standpoint. I must share with you something which we did as a pilot, and it's scaled up now. Almost 200,000 students are using it. We created this AI My Tutor. It's simply called My Tutor. It's on their mobile. And now they don't have a fear that what if I ask a wrong question in class? What will teachers say? Will my friends laugh? Now he just had to put a earphone and then say, no, I didn't like this example. Give me an easier example on this topic. And it gives it easier. It says, no, I still didn't understand it. Give me some quiz. It makes 2 questions. So now what happened was, those students who were, very shy of talking, they started learning this way better. So there, what happened is, if you guardrail the learning properly, do not let them go out of the context, and let them speak whatever they want to ask. Maybe even it could be, I don't feel like studying anymore. No problem. There is a way to handle that as well. So from that perspective, but no doubt at this point, trainers have to be, get into a different mode of facilitation. And if that can become the reality, we are still long away from there. But I think if that can happen, I must share this with you. When we go to colleges and we say there's a AI agent way of learning, right? And along with your studies, it's a hybrid learning. students will come out very, very charged. And sorry to say, when it is teachers, we have to fight the battle, So it's like that. So, but yes, it is getting better and better. But those who catch it, then they realize how good it is to, create questionnaires in the class. You can create a quiz. You can give 7 different kind of examples, one right from the local community, right to the global example in different languages. So that is making the whole thing different. But yes, both the parties are crucial to the game. Thank you.
Ajay Kumar ji, I think we briefly touched upon this in your first answer about professional bodies setting the standards and then making sure skilled people come through. If you look at the Kalari system, the Kalarippayat system that we had, there is no exam. So you are at your own pace learning, and then the Kalari decides if you have become good enough, and it's a peer-to-peer learning. The Ashan is only a few years more into the structure than you are. Now, if we are bringing something like highly personalized such learning system back, what do we do for quality control? Because in India, quality control is a big issue. Like you said, we need a regulatory body. So how can we leverage technology to ensure people who come at different speeds can also succeed? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think quality control, they are put to test on a job. That's quality control, right? So I don't actually believe in a quality control system or the AAA or AA rated universities, because having seen majority of the fresh graduates from all over the world, I really don't see much difference between the Indian graduates or the outside graduates. So quality control is something which I think maybe not the right way of putting it. How many of you have heard about VUCA? You would have heard. So volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world. This is how American soldiers are being trained, right? So we need to prepare our children to take the right decisions, to do what they like the most. A recent Harvard study says that how do you decide? How do you know that this is good for me? So you need to first think about, like in the next 10 years, whether this decision I would regret or not. So that's something that you need to, think about first before choosing something. And how do you know that? So for that, now today there are 2 important decisions, like whether it is a marriage or career is always decided by in our community, by the societies or parents or the teachers. It's all decided by the societal pressures. So how do you overcome that part? So I would say that there are 4 kind of sights that everyone has. One is hindsight. What is insight? That comes from the knowledge, from the past, what you have come across, what others have experienced. So you can make use of hindsight, your hindsight and others' insight. You can take opinion. Then there is plain sight, that is the present. Okay, the plain sight means you get to know what's happening today. Then you have insight. Insight mostly comes from your knowledge, your understanding of the subject, the way you read things. So this is insight. From insight, you get foresight. So that foresight helps you to take the right decisions. So these are the 4 methods everyone, even including us, that we should be using before taking a decision. And you keep doing what you like the most. Believe me, if you do anything for 10 hours a day for the next 3 years, you have done 10,000 hours. And Robin Sharma says, you will be a master of that. Even if you don't sing, you don't know how to act, you will be a master of that.
That's probably showing us how he is such a successful author as well. Ajay Kumar has written multiple books on management and handling your career. So thank you for beautifully putting it as, hindsight, foresight, insight. Saurabh, you mentioned about the colleague, Malayali colleague who mastered AI despite coming from data science. But I'm thinking he is able to do that in the context of no broker, right? Deciding what's the value. So what do you see as the next few skills that should be highly contextualized? It doesn't matter which field you belong to, but some things that you should pick up and then use in that field.
Sure. I think before coming to that, it was a very interesting question which you asked, Sid, and I want to just remembered something. I'll just give a anecdote on that. So one of our professors at IIM Ahmedabad, he used to do a lot of consulting for companies. And he realized that he was giving them presentations after consulting and nobody uses it. So he said that I'll flip it. So I will do all the work, but the companies have to come and ask me questions. And for each question, I will charge. So he just changed the entire thing, and I think it became a lot more effective. Coming to the question which you asked, I really think there are 3-4 things which are very important. One, being curious. I think that's extremely important, because if you're curious, if you are willing to learn, I mean, whatever happens in the future, you can adapt to it, you can do things, and you can keep on working on that. So I think this is one very, very important skill, especially in today's context, where AI will change a lot of things. So, for example, just look at coding now. You don't really need to sit and code the entire thing. You'll probably just use a Claude, or you'll use a ChatGPT, and a lot of coding will happen with that. But what is more important is what is the problem and how you are defining the problem. I think that skill again will be very important. Thinking from first principles and starting from there, and making sure that you create something which is useful, and you're solving somebody's problem. Because you can build something which is grand, but if it doesn't solve any problem, it doesn't make any sense. So I think breaking things into, starting with the first principles, being curious, and I think what is going to become more important is understanding human behavior. Especially how the humans interact with various technologies in the future, what are the things, because nobody would have assumed 20 years back that everybody would be just doing everything through a phone. The entire interaction has just changed, and we don't know what it's going to be 10 years later, 15 years later. Already, Meta is talking about smart glasses, and so I think the entire what is going to be the product which you're interacting with will change. So I think it's important to just be curious and keep learning and upgrading yourself. That is going to be very, very important.
Curiosity and learning, he mentioned. What are the things that you would like to add to that?
So there's a couple of examples I want to share with you. The first one is, so whenever I'm mentoring corporate executives or middle managers, I talk about the circle of 5, which is you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with, right? So if you want to become a good artist, and if you don't know anything about art, look up 5 amazing artists. Follow their work, see what they're talking about, who are they following, who are they reading, who are they talking about, go to the exhibitions, and soon you will start to build and become a better artist. So find whatever you want to become better at, find 5 other people who are amazing at that, and you should be the stupidest or the dumbest person in that circle of 5. And if you and these don't have to be physical people next to you, could be anywhere. And as you spend more time with them or follow their work, you will soon become more skilled at that space. So you're talking about being curious. At some point in time, you will become the smartest person in that circle. And that's when you start giving back. Because by that time, you build the skill of giving back to people. And find the next circle of 5 so that you keep on growing in your life. So that's important. The second thing, I think, which is also important from being curious, is, we always talk about being aware of our surroundings. If we walk down the road and there's a pothole, or there's a traffic jam, or there's something which is not right, we can either complain about it and say, oh, that's horrible, that's somebody else's job, they should have fixed it. Or you find a way or think about how that can be done differently. Now, you might not have the ability or the capability or the power to fix it, but in your mind, you've been able to solve a problem. And when you start observing things like these more and more places, while you might not land up going and solving all the problems, you become the kind of person who builds the skills to become a problem solver. Because I'll tell you, every single employer, if they're employers in this room or if the people who are looking for a job, when you go apply for a job, the employer does not want to know what degree you've got. They want to find out how soon can you start working and start being effective at the job. Because after the degree will only get you into the door, but they'll not keep you there. If you are rubbish at solving problems or working, they'll throw you out. And that engineering degree or whatever degree is going to be of no use. And the last point is, when someone asks you, tell me about yourself, and if you say, your first answer is, I'm the director of, I'm a manager at, I'm the CEO of, you already failed because your identity is that job title. Because when you start young, you don't have your personal identity. You are building value for yourself based on where you work and what your title is. After a few years, you stop talking about this, or either you get fired from your job, then you're not that anymore. Then who are you? So spend more time in trying to build your own identity about who you are as a person. The titles will come and go, and you'll still be fine.
That reminds me that I'm the moderator and I should look at the watch. As my role, I think we have to tackle one question from all of you experts, and that is, at the government level, what kind of policy changes are absolutely required almost immediately so that this skill gap can be bridged? That's for everybody. We'll start with Sunil ji.
No, you go first.
Okay. See, from the policy level, it's very important from, one is the whole talent India, whether it is states, whether it is center, or any, even if you go to a local level, it's important that we start training students equally for jobs, joining jobs and creating jobs. This has now become almost like a mandatory thing. Without naming a state, I must tell you, I just visited one, very small state. The message written on the top was one family, one entrepreneur. And this starts from class 6 in the school. So when I met some students who cleared from there, I was amazed. Somebody doing, a gear business after doing ITI and now doing a gear business. So this aspect of entrepreneurship, or maybe, I don't really mean entrepreneurship, maybe self-employment, maybe micro-entrepreneurship and moving that area. If that is instilled from the policy perspective, right from beginning, and nowadays if it's also true that any of the education institution, if you look at, take ITI, take polytechnics, take college, at the end of it, when you look at it, there are 30 students in a batch. How many of them got into a job? How many of them got into a job and now moved on their own? And how many of them can be facilitated there only to move on their own? But this requires policy intervention, resources being available, let's say, where do they get funds from, and various things, because it's a system to be created at a policy level which motivates this behavior. And from that perspective, I think this could be a big way forward.
So I think some data-driven accountability for educational and training institutions as well.
Yeah, I would briefly say 2 points. One, I think, as Sunil sir mentioned, instead of job seekers, they should be job providers, and whatever entrepreneur or self-employment, whatever it is. So I think that mindset has to be changed, not just for the students, even for the teachers and the parents, the society. So that is where government can actually come up with necessary policies and necessary, say for example, to educate our society so that more and more of the entrepreneurs will come. That's one. Number two is the internship that we need to have for our colleges. Like forget about the school. Schools, we need to have knowledge-based system, but for the college, irrespective of the course, if somebody is taking journalism, he should be having an internship at least for 6 months with the newspaper agency or PR or whatever relevant to his course. So I think these two are must.
I think two places where things have to change. One, rather than teaching them tools, we should teach them problem solving. How it can be done is various things. One could be internship, one could be live projects, right? So you're working on a real problem and you're solving that. You don't need to learn anything. For example, if you're learning physics or if you're learning coding, you don't need to learn it through being on the blackboard, right? You can learn it solving a real life problem. So that gives you a better context to that. So I think clearly all the education should be more focused towards problem solving and not teaching them tools. Second, I think there has to be a way that encourages risk taking, so that people can actually not be afraid of what if I fail. I think that needs to be brought in, because we as a society are very risk-averse society. We always think about, look, I'm coming from a middle class, what if I fail, what will happen? I will not be able to feed my family and all those things. How do you take away that fear and give them, freedom to go and take risk? Some of us are privileged that we went to an institute which gave us that advantage, that even if we fail, we can still get a good job, right? So we could do that, but not everybody has that privilege. So how do you provide that? I think that is something which is very, very important if you really need to make this nation have more entrepreneurship and more enterprises to come in.
I remember before I come to you, Sid, the previous panel discussion in that room, we had one about inclusive development, inclusive skilling. So Dr. Anandalakshmi was talking about how, as a blind person in 1990, she could not pursue her PhD because even with binocular lenses, her reading speed was 3 words per minute. But by 2010, she had enough technology so that she was the fastest reader, 300 words per minute in TISS. So, that risk-taking where she wants to do that PhD, and that's quite important. And she was talking about how disabled people automatically have the risk-taking because just getting across from the room itself involves a risk that they can take. And one of the frequent things that I remind my students in my college is that the opposite of risk is not safety. The opposite of risk in modern India is regret. If you don't take it now, 20 years from now, you will become that uncle who keeps telling, I could have done this, we would have had that. Okay, so now, Sid.
Mark Zuckerberg says exactly the same thing. Not taking risk is the biggest risk.
So, what are the fundamental things that they should look for in terms of curiosity, risk-taking? What else do you have?
Yeah, I think to go back to what you're saying, there's only 2 options anyone should have. Sorry, 2 questions you should ask before doing anything. Is it risky or is it dangerous? If it's dangerous, don't do it. If it's risky, do it. Because if it's safe, it's not worth doing it. Right? Those are the only 2 options. That's how you should think about it. No, I think to go back to your point that you're talking about how the visually impaired person was able to progress forward, I think the narrative that a lot of people have is about when people have certain handicaps, that, oh my God, something is missing, something is wrong, something more or something special needs to be done, or they have special needs or something different needs to be done. I think what we forget is that the most amount of innovation and the significant benefit to our society comes from designing solutions for people that have got less access to resources. Because we are able to build a society, if that is able to help people with little, then the ones who have more resources can do a significantly more amount of work with it. So by doing more for people who have got less, has an exponential benefit to the overall society. If you look at, for example, I'm a big Formula One fan, right? I watch Formula One. Unfortunately in Australia, all the Formula One races come at 1 o'clock in the morning. So go to bed, eat my dinner, then wake up and watch the race. The point being, the cars at the top of the game. fuel, efficiency, everything else. But that has led to the design of so many cars. Now, the cars on the road are not Formula One cars. I might feel like a Formula One driver, but the technology in those has come from that, right? So I think that's where the value comes from, that you find people who have got a lot less, solve their problems, and that goes for every single one in this room. Find people who have got problems, solve the problems for them, you'll be a significantly better person in your personal and professional life.
It's similar with space technology. I mean, that solves so many problems for a very particular niche, but it trickles down to all of us having better technology. So I think we have spent 1 hour. It did not feel like an hour. It was a wonderful conversation. So any closing remarks from each of you?
Yeah, I think we, as I said in the beginning, creative thinking and adaptability with problem solving in their mind. I think this is the way forward. And I think another aspect is it's not AI alone, it's AI and HI which is going to be the success mantra in the future.
Very glad that this discussion did not end up with learn Python and not Java.
I would say two things. One, eliminate distraction and embrace boredom, because we have too many distractions and this era of information overloaded. We are not bored. We don't know how to enjoy boredom. So I think these two we need to teach our younger generation.
I would just say that this is the best time to actually take risks. So you should think of what we can do. So many technologies at our disposal now. It's so much more easier to, if you have to start something, this is the best time to do that. So take risk and I also remember Einstein saying that, who's the most logical person, who says that with logic you can go from A to B, but with imagination you can go anywhere. So I think just imagine the most logical person saying that.
So I'll say something controversial. Okay, so maybe I saved it to the last, not by design. So first of all this story about find your passion, find your purpose, it's all rubbish. Okay? Because ultimately everybody wants to earn a decent wage and live a good life. When you are in your 20s, you have no idea what you're passionate about. You have no idea what your purpose in life is. People in their 70s also don't know what their purpose in life is, many of us. So when you are in your early years of your life, work hard, get any job, and start to figure it out. And along the way, your passion and your purpose will show. You will show up at the door of those things when you are ready for it. Don't start your life thinking about this is what I'm passionate about, because then you are not. You think you are, but you're not. So I don't know if it's controversial, but that's what my
No, that's true, because this is a generation, the younger generation, they have access to almost everybody on the planet, the expert in every field. They have access to all the affinity spaces they can imagine. They can be with the best 5 people in any field and then learn from them. So sky is indeed the limit, and I think all of you at the end of this discussion, we will bridge the skill gap once we realize that we ourselves are going to be the bridge which will create the next technology, the next world in which we will all thrive. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of this very wonderful discussion. We thoroughly enjoyed. Hope you also enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that thought-provoking panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, as a mark of respect and gratitude, we now move on to the presentation of the mementos. I invite our moderator of the session, Dr. Arun Surendran, Principal and Strategic Director, Trinity College of Engineering, to do the honors of presenting the mementos.